Hello everyone, I am Bhumica M, presently working as a legal intern under LEXIS and Company, a law firm. I am from Reva University, Bangalore, pursuing BLLB Honours second year. So quickly let us start off today's topic for the discussion. Today I will be going to discuss an interesting topic about compulsory voting. So what is this phenomena of compulsory voting and whether it is there in India, such laws are there in India for compulsory voting, and we will be seeing what are the arguments in favor of compulsory voting and against compulsory voting, and we will try to give a better conclusion whether India is ready for this mechanism of compulsory voting or no. So quickly let us start off this topic. So to begin with, election is like a festival which happens in a democratic country. Okay, so for a democracy, election is the basis of like a pillar. It stands as a pillar for a democratic nation. So India is a democratic nation, so election is must, and it must be conducted for the foundation of democracy. Okay, so now when these elections are over in each and like after 5 years or every year, as such, when elections are done, before the result or after the result, there is a huge number of debates in the news channels going on about the voting percentage in India. So what is this voting percentage and whether it is low or not, this debate will be going on usually. Okay, so now by various newspaper reports or surveys, it has been come to notice that in rural areas the voting percentage is healthy, wherein when it is compared to urban areas the voting percentage is very low. Okay, so due to this, many people have, or the experts have advocated that there is need for compulsory voting mechanism in India. So now, for example to cite, in 2014 elections, Lok Sabha elections, BJP government won and Narendra Modi came to the power, right? So that time when we look at the voting percentage that have been polled, it was just 60%. 60% was the voting percentage wherein actually people casted their vote. So among that, 31% was backed by BJP party and then came to power. So now, when this BJP party backed, then most of the critics have argued that this BJP government is not legitimate because half of the population is against this government. They did not vote again in favor of this BJP party. So now, how can we ask this legitimacy of the government when only 60% of the population has casted their votes, has come out and casted their valuable right, exercised their valuable franchise? So that cannot be held. So this compulsory voting is the concept wherein everyone, all the citizens of the country are forced by the government or the state to vote in all the elections which have been conducted. Okay, so now what is the objective behind this compulsory voting? That to decline or decrease the voters' apathy. Like what is this voters' apathy is that the voting percentage is very low, okay, but no one are ready to vote. But when it comes to the problem, citing of the problems that are occurring in day-to-day activities, everyone are ready to show their hands to the government. So wherein but government like they are not ready to select the government by casting their vote and select a proper government which they can hold responsible, but they are ready to show the mistakes what the government has doing. So to decrease this voters apathy and also to cater to the needs of this declining legitimacy of this government, like how this legitimacy is going on, as I gave the example that less number of voters are voting, and also the votes polled are also less, so the government legitimacy is dropping down, like the responsibility of the government is going low and low. So these are the objectives of this compulsory voting concept. Now when we see our neighbors or the countries over the world, now presently there are 14 countries who are following this compulsory voting mechanism. Like to give few example, that is Australia, Brazil, and also like Peru. These type of countries are practicing this compulsory voting. But when we see the other face of the coin, that is few countries have adopted this compulsory voting and also they dropped this. They omitted this compulsory voting concept because it is very difficult to implement. Okay, so the government cannot go and check each and every citizen whether they have voted or no, and cannot penalize everyone. So this is one of the most difficult tasks to be done, so they have omitted it. So now in India, whether is it constitutional to do compulsory voting mandatory? So is it constitutional? Yes, it is constitutional, but we need to keep one thing in the mind, that democracy and force will not go hand in hand. But in democratic country, many works have been forced upon the people to do. Like for example, if we take, government will say that wearing the helmet is compulsory while driving, wherein the people are not ready to do that, and government will penalize as such acts, right? So what will government cite? What is the rationale behind the government? They say that it is better for the people. Very good, the policy is very good. Government is doing some good thing for the people and forcing them to do that. So as such, even this compulsory voting can be made compulsory and forced upon the people to do so for the betterment of them. Like how they force upon to pay the taxes, in the same way this also can be done. So this is not an illegal act or such, it is constitutional, pure constitutional act of the government if it does so. Compulsory voting mechanism. So presently in India there is no such compulsory voting concept, but tomorrow or any time the government can bring this mechanism. It is purely constitutional as such. Now when we move on to the arguments in favor and in against of this compulsory voting, one such is that, first let us start off with the compulsory voting. In favor of compulsory voting, one is that the turnout, the voting percentage will go high. All the people will start voting and the voting percentage will go high, and also few exceptions can be there here and there. We can't bring out 100% voting. Like the exceptions, like people who are sick can stay home, they don't need to vote, and who are out of the country cannot vote. So exceptions apart, the voting percentage will go high, and also we can, by that we can decrease this voters apathy. And also next one is that we can reduce this menace of black money. During election time, this black money will come out by the candidates who will stand for these elections, so that they will use this black money to give out liquor or bribe, exchange of the bribes will happen. And so these things can be reduced because compulsory voting is made compulsory, so people will vote. If it is it's not like if you bribe them they will vote. It is if it is made compulsory, they will come and vote. Okay, so this black money can be reduced. And so these are the two important things, wherein the voting percentage will increase and the black money menace of black money will be reduced. So now after looking at the advantages of that, now we will come into the disadvantages side of this compulsory voting mechanism also. So this compulsory voting mechanism disadvantages are, the quality of the votes which have been polled will go down. Like if you force anyone who is not willing to exercise their own right to vote, obviously they will go to an polling booth, they will cast a vote for some person or the person's names whose name is in the first column, and then they will come out and enjoy the rest of the day. They don't know nothing about the constitution, what is happening in the government, nothing. They want to lead their life happily. So now they want to stay away from these political activities as such. So they will cast vote for someone else, so that candidate might not be even eligible for becoming an MLA or MP. So the quality of the votes or the quality of the responsible candidates who are getting into these legislative assemblies or Lok Sabhas will go down. So this is one menace of what will happen if this compulsory voting is made compulsory or mandatory, if it brings in India. Okay, so after that, so this will happen. And also the cost of implementing this compulsory voting is also very high. We can fine the people and we can also bring them to jail, but the question is whether there is enough space to bring all the non-voting candidates to the jails and provide proper life to them, to look after them in the jail. That is impossible task. So the implementation task is also like very difficult to implement this compulsory voting as such. Okay, so these are the types of problems when it comes to the implementation of compulsory voting and bringing this mechanism in place. So the ultimate solution for this compulsory voting in context of India, what we can say that is, like democracy concept, it must give options or the choices to people whether to exercise their right or to abstain from exercising these right. So This right to vote should not be forced or coerced or induced on the people. That is their right. They need to be aware of that, and also they need to vote to the right candidate. So it should be left to the people who want to vote in the election process. And if we bring out compulsory voting, there will be huge chaos in the state, wherein the government also cannot implement this policy properly, and also the voting quality will reduce to the great extent. So the voting right need to left. The choice needs to be in the hands of the people, wherein they will decide that they need to participate in this democratic activities or no. So if this voting mechanism, compulsory voting mechanism, is not if it is in the place in India, then the participation in the democracy will become meaningless. Like the people who don't want to participate also will start participating in that, and they will surely make the quality go down of this election process. So it is better that the voting rights or the compulsory voting thing should not be brought in India. So it should be left to the people who want to decide whether they want to exercise their valuable right or no. So by saying this, we'll end today's discussion. Thank you so much.